K-pop Demon Hunter's Haja Boys breakfast meal and Huntrix meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja Boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
If you've got spring fever, Lowe's has the cure. During SpringFest, make your landscape stand out with 3 free bags of Miracle-Gro 3/4 cubic foot garden soil when you buy 3. Plus, get up to 40% off select major appliances to keep clothes, food, and dishes fresh all season long. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 4/22 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for details. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nerding Out on Neurodiversity, the podcast for all things neurodivergence. I'm Dr. Matt Zakreski, clinical psychologist and professional speaker, and I'm happy to be your host through the wild trails of the neurodivergent world.
And I'm Jake Noonan, educational coach and humanities teacher, your co-host and producer, and I'm thrilled to help share the stories and the experiences of wonderful people in the world of neurodiversity.
We're really excited for today's guest, which we are going to say a lot because we're always really excited about every guest we get. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nerding Out on Neurodiversity. I'm your host, Dr. Matt Zakreski, clinical psychologist, professional speaker, published author, wearer of many hats, including co-hosting this illustrious podcast with the curly Lambeau to my Vince Lombardi, Mr. Jake Noonan. Say hi, Jake.
Hey, everybody. Great as always to be here. Dr. Matt, I hope you'll be proud of me. I do understand that one, mostly because I pass the Lombardi rest stop pretty frequently driving home from back to Philly.
Sports. Yeah, making football references with neurodivergent folk is pretty dicey proposition.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. As you know, I try to tie our lead in to our guest today, and we have, I am rarely starstruck, but the first time I sat at a round table at a conference with these fine folks, I spent 45 minutes trying to gear up the courage to speak to them. And I think I was like, I'm getting a cup of coffee. Would you also want to drink for drinks and coffee and snacks?
Oh my goodness.
I did not handle it very well, but they were gracious enough to talk to me anyway. So would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Absolutely.
I'm Martha Thomas. Also, fan of Matt, Dr. Matt's, but we're founders of the defensive line, along with our son, Solomon. And I'm a longtime educator, mom, storyteller, but also a survivor of suicide loss. We lost our daughter, Ella, to suicide. It'll be 8 years in January.
And I'm also a big fan of you guys. Thank you so much for having us. And I think one reason why I love you guys so much is our son is a huge nerd. So you're near and dear to our hearts. And I'm actually the husband of Martha, 40 years, father of Ella and Solomon, not only a suicide loss survivor to our daughter, but a survivor of substance abuse, as well as sexual abuse as well. So we just love being able to share our story to help others learn from our experience, and hopefully we can make a difference and impact today. So thank you for having us.
It's just, even those intros are it's such a great example of just who you guys are and what you stand for. Chris, just, and sexual abuse and racial abuse and just naming these things and bringing it into the space. So many people suffer in silence around these things because there is so much shame.
Yeah.
And it's a thing I have spoken about a little bit myself, but I'm also a survivor of sexual assault. But it's just sort of things like as a man to bring that, it's like
Yeah.
people are like, well, no, you're a dude. You can't be sexually assaulted.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or like some people will be like, oh, was it some gay guy?
Got it. Yeah.
No, it
yeah.
was a woman. Like what question is that?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah. But I feel like when you bring it out into the open, you normalize the conversation and you talk about, the experience, you talk about how to identify others who may be going through it and get them down the right path to recovery. So I I didn't start there, to believe me. She helped me quite a bit.
Taking a lot of work.
A lot of therapy, a lot of reading books, a lot of podcasts like yours, just realizing that it's okay to talk about it. Just don't put our head in the sand and sit in the closet. I mean, we can help people by sharing our story. We just came from the Clinton Global Initiative about a month ago, and that was one of the key things that came out was the power of storytelling, and then backing it up with data, and then backing it up with an action plan to help those who are in that particular situation. So, yeah, Martha likes to say that we're not going to stop talking about Ella. We're not going to stop talking about suicide. We're not going to stop talking, about abuse, because we think that our talking helps save lives.
Well, I mean, Jake, it's like, they're casually dropping the Clinton Global Initiative, and then they're on our podcast. It's like, oh, I don't have any imposter syndrome at all right now. That's fine.
Never. We have no idea what that's about.
Wrenched in flop sweat. It's great. But if you talk to Bill and Hillary, tell them I said hi. So, you guys are so out there and you're so visible. But just for our listeners, can you guys tell us, like, what is the defensive line? Tell us Ella's story. Tell us Solomon's story. Tell us your story. Really set the stage if you don't mind.
So we started the defensive line. It'll be 5 years in May. We waited almost 3 years, over 3 years, to start something and really worked on our healing. Really dug deep into therapy. Fortunate to have resources and to actually find a therapist that we all worked well with. So Solomon, Chris, and I, for the first several years, we're all using the same therapist. We did individual therapy, we did couples therapy, we did family therapy, and really, we learned a lot. I can't even tell you how we went from literally crawling on the ground to finding light again. We also used peer support groups, which I think are invaluable. Not people telling you what you should think, but people telling you what they're thinking, for themselves, and then having to listen, right? Like there's that component of listening. Anyways, so I was a teacher up until 3 years ago of middle school, 7th graders. Bless me. And you can bless me even more because I was teaching Texas history, which I love and adore now. But I came in as someone who didn't know. I knew I could have taught any social sciences in Texas, but they put me in Texas history, which I had no experience as. And, after we lost Ella, was really so concerned that I was a teacher. I was supposed to know what suicide might look like. What I was supposedly suicide prevention trained, and I had no idea. Like, I knew our daughter had struggles. I knew she was struggling, but I didn't think suicide was in her wheelhouse. And, after we lost her, I remember sitting in a lockdown drill. And first of all, being overwhelmed with the fact that I was going to have to deal with kids who had been in a lockdown drill all day, emotionally. Like we were going to have to kind of set the tone in class before we could move on with learning, because those drills are traumatizing. And sat there and went, I am going to have to deal with mental health issues all day, and I am not trained to do that. So how can we help get teachers on a page that they can recognize mental health issues, that they can fine-tune their hearing, and help kids either just listen to them or help them find resources, whether that's the guidance counselor, whether that's the clinician that's available to that campus. And really, make it safe for kids to go, you know what, that was terrifying when they pounded on the door.
Yeah.
You know, like I cried. Yeah, I heard you cry. What happened? What happened to you when that happened? You know, just making it safe for kids to talk about what is going on in their hearts. So I realized that as a teacher in my classroom, I was dealing with at least 140 kids a day. And then while I was a coach, I was probably dealing with almost 400 kids a day. That impact that I could have on all of those students, if I had knew more, was astounding. And also like kind of a breakthrough, like, oh my gosh, like we can change the trajectory of what a mental health crisis might look like in the classroom.
To add to that, what is amazing is what I learned from that when Martha shared with me what impact she could have as a teacher, as a coach, as a leader of young people. You know, when Ella died by suicide, I didn't think Black people died by suicide. So, you know, one of the things that, you know, aside from just losing her and feeling the shame, the guilt, the blame, and all the other elements of and just the hurt of losing your child, you know, my thought is I'm probably not the only person in this community that feels this way. So, you know, how can we learn from it? So, as Martha mentioned, we worked with, you know, groups like American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Mental Health America, NAMI, all the key ones, and we still do. But we realized, and she realized specifically, there's a gap. So in helping leaders recognize that there are skill and crisis gaps, there are community building and skill building gaps. So how do we create this niche where, you know, we can come in and help people? Because there were all kind of programs. There were 10-minute videos, there were 20-minute videos, there were 2-hour videos. But how can we create this, you know, sort of a program where we can help leaders recognize the pain that young people of color. So we created the defensive line, a vision where there's no a world where no young person of color dies by suicide. And with that said, we will help anybody. But the reality was there was nobody in there talking to leaders about, you know, the warning signs of somebody who may be experiencing mental health issues. Not only mental health issues, but may have been dealing with, you know, bias, unconscious implicit bias, microaggressions, micro insults. And so one of the beauties that Martha helped create was an action plan. I mean, she knew that 1 out of 4 of her students coming in that room was having a mental health crisis. And then if you're LGBTQ, 1 out of 4 had probably attempted suicide. So how can we help these coaches and teachers, clergy people, business people recognize the warning signs and figure out, you know, who do you talk to? What resources do you use? Where do you have conversations? What conversations do you have if they say no initially? And so we created a D-Lines 90-minute workshop. We created, you know, a parent university. We created panels and workshops, and we do keynotes because, as we were talking earlier, the more we talk about it, the more we normalize the conversation, because our mission is, you know, how do we communicate and connect about mental health? You know, so that we can really make a difference. And part of the action plan, part of the communications, the conversations, we believe help save lives. So it'll be like 5 years, like Martha said, but I feel like every day is like, it's full on. We were just talking the other day how we didn't wake up thinking we were going to be in this field. And to be clear, one thing we want to share, we are not mental health experts. Don't have any letters, initials, or anything.
We're not like you, Dr. Matt. And Jake, I don't know. I don't see letters behind your name, but you probably have them.
Longtime humanities teacher. So I'm right there with you with like the middle school, the lockdown drills, the trauma behind it, everything.
You know, and I can't do my job without teachers and parents. They're the boots on the ground. I get an hour with a kid once a week if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
You know, I just wrapped up a therapy session today where it's like, you know, this kid's in college and he's having a tough transition, and mom is emailing me. She's like, here's what I'm seeing, here's what I'm hearing, here's what I'm not seeing and hearing. And I'm like, if I could open it, I was like, listen, man, I'm going to rip this Band-Aid off real quick in this session. I'm worried about you. Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And we had a great session.
Yeah.
But it's that sort of thing. Like, you know, I think that, Chris, you mentioned being a person of color and like being men, you, myself, you know, and also Solomon, like,
yes,
Men in mental health is a vanishingly small group, especially men of color in the mental health world. It's just,
yes.
You sort of, if you're going to have a therapist, you kind of expect them to look like me.
Mhm.
I'm a white dude with a beard, right? Like all I need is a pipe and a smoking jacket and I'm good to go. But to see a guy like Solomon who's like, if like Siri, show me a platonic ideal of a football player, and like Solly just walks out of the room, like, but to see him be so vulnerable, and then to have you guys match that up, because the framework you guys have created takes this from being from a person to a program. What you guys have created is going to outlive all of us because you've created something that's evergreen, rather than just having one or all three of you be these amazing allies and advocates. Anybody can take this system and start using it, start having these conversations. And if we save one life,
right,
if it's not worth it, right?
Right. Absolutely, yeah.
So, like you said, nobody saw this being the plan, right? I don't know. No, I mean, preparing for this, I watched the ESPN clip with you guys and John Lynch, and I can't watch it without crying, right? Jake, we got to put a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, gets me every time too, and I've probably seen it 2,000 times.
It's so well done. It's like not like manipulative or schmaltzy. It's just real.
No. What's amazing is every time I see a something different, whether it's an angle of Martha or Ella or Solomon. I hear something different somebody said in there. And it's also amazing when we share that clip when we're in presentations or workshops, the different perspectives people have about the video. One of the things I love Martha does before, she says, we want you to listen to it, and we'll come back and talk about, we want you to share with us, where were we most vulnerable? Because we got to figure out a way to have this conversation about vulnerability, because that's when we really, when we're most uncomfortable, we learn the most. We grow the best.
Well, and we didn't become vulnerable really by choice, so whether that's a gift or whatever it was. But, with Solomon's platform, Solomon was a rookie in the NFL. He'd been the third pick in the 2017 draft. So a lot of high profile stuff. And then his sister dies by suicide. And then we get asked to start talking about it. And we didn't plan on doing this. This was not what we wanted to do. But the more we got asked, the more we're like, what's happening in this world? Why aren't there videos of so many people talking? Like, we had never looked into it because it wasn't something we felt was affecting us. But it clearly, it was. So, we worked with people to make sure our messaging was safe. But also that we were taking care of ourselves. And that is, it's been life-changing. And now we kind of can't stop. I'm running our mouths.
Well, we wouldn't, we can't have you guys stop. There's so much work left to do. And I know you've been asked this question before, but forgive me, indulge me, if you will. How the hell do you find the strength to do that? Like in the dark, and every parent's worst nightmare. I've got 2 kids and I'm a mental health professional. I've got the fancy letters after my name. If that happened, I don't know if I could do that. And I'm a pretty damn public figure. I get paid to talk a lot. So, does that come from Ella? Does that come from faith in God? Does that come from what else are we going to do? What is that process like?
It comes from Ella because, like I always say, I feel her on my shoulder. Come on, Mom. You're saving lives. It comes from, having a platform that we didn't know that we had. But it also comes from people telling us that when I heard you speak, we had a woman a few years ago who heard us speak, who said she went home and asked her son, was he thinking about suicide? And a woman of color. And she said, we don't do this in our community. And I went home and I did it anyways. And he said, yes. And we talked to her. It was almost a year later. She said, my son wouldn't be here without me having heard you speak. She said, he's still here. He's not well. He's in and out of treatment. but he's here. He's still here.
Mm.
And he wouldn't have been if I hadn't asked him that night. And that, it's stories like that that are like, yeah, we have to, like we have to. Maybe one day we'll stop. I don't know. But, and people contact us constantly for resources, for, I heard you and this mattered to me. Or, but, police officer in Dallas who came up to us after he heard us speak and said, I never thought of what you've said before. You're changing how I talk to all young people when I deal with them.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll keep me going for a year.
Yeah.
Like it's really, really powerful.
It's all those things. Martha's absolutely on target. It's LA, it's God, it's, for me, it's also, sort of a 12th step of me giving back and part of my recovery. It's been in like 5 years and 7 months in the making, and just making sure that we try to help others. Because the other piece is, and one reason why we keep talking is Martha mentioned the platform and that Solomon has, and being able to not only connect with people like yourself, but also we listen to your podcast you did with the Kevin Love folks. We absolutely love them. But when a Kevin Love, a Solomon Thomas, Dak Prescott, Simone Biles, all these people can use their platform to talk about it, because the reality is a lot of people still don't know that it's an issue, that it's a need. I mean, just before we got on, and Martha mentioned Solomon losing a teammate.
Just this week, right?
Yeah. And it's like the need exists. I mean, we always talk about how it's one of the most unspoken issues we have in society. But the reality is, for those 24 and under, it's 119 each week dying by suicide. That's 2/3 the size of Boeing 737. And if a Boeing 737 was going down each week, Congress would stop all air traffic. We've got an issue with kids of color dying by suicide, youth dying by suicide, vets dying by suicide, people in the country dying by suicide. And the more we talk about it, the more you talk about it, the more Kevin, Solomon, Dak talks about it, the more we can create this groundswell of support to say, hey, we got to do something. And also, let's just stop talking about it. What are we going to do from an education, a legislative, a funding, a support, a community support perspective? Because one of the things we're get tired of sometimes is people just talking.
Right.
We need to act on this.
It's amazing how quickly you realize, like, it's hard to talk about it, but then it's actually easy to only talk about it. You're like, golly gee, that sure is a problem. Well, anyway, 10:30's here. I got to bounce. Like, to change hearts and minds, we have to change the systems and the structures that support these things.
Yes.
I did a talk on suicide at a school in the Northeast that has sort of a famously high suicide rate because it's on a large hill near a large bridge. You can connect the dots, right? And I was like, so listen, it's great you guys spent the money to bring me up here. I love talking. Your campus is gorgeous. When are you going to build a higher fence? Well, like, people would be upset because they can't take pictures. I'm like, not pictures. Send a drone up. God.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, remember when, like, the baseballs were going into the stands and hitting people? They're going to put up these nets. People don't want the nets. You think about the nets at all? And no one thinks about the nets anymore. Like,
exactly, you're right. Exactly.
We made people safer. We did the hard thing. And
right.
The piece of this that is, it's just more, it's got to be a call to action.
Right.
And people are like, well, I can't solve this problem. Well, of course you can't. Nobody can. But if every one of us does a little bit, then it gets a little bit better.
Yes. Absolutely.
If that one cop has better conversations, that's something.
Mm-hmm.
That woman talked to her son, and he's not, giant air quotes, magically better.
Right.
He's in treatment, but he's still with us.
Yes.
And there's hope.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes. And it feels like every time we do something like this, like we did a presentation, Solomon gave a keynote at TCU, or it wasn't a keynote, it was he talked 15, 20 minutes. Martha and I did a workshop. And won't you share the story about the TCU?
Well, there was a student athlete who heard Solomon's talk, a coach who heard us talk, attended our workshop. The student knew it was safe to reach out to their coach. The coach knew how to respond. And they credited us with saving, a life, but it's not really that complicated.
No, it's not.
It's not really that complicated to have open ears and an open heart and to be there for the people that we love and we're around, and it doesn't mean it's going to work every time, but it means that there's a possibility.
Yes.
And that's I think a thing that, in education and mental health, and frankly in football as well, like you can have the best laid plans, you can do the best practice, you can do all things, and sometimes it's the ball bounces the other way, or the kid misses the lesson, or I've had kids in and out of treatment facilities, I've had kids attempt, and like there's a party that's like, but I've done everything right. Well, because mental illness doesn't play fair.
No.
Depression doesn't play by the rules. But if we save 100 lives and some people still die by suicide, those 100 lives still matter.
Absolutely. Yes.
Like we can't let ourselves start thinking like, since we're not perfect, what we're doing doesn't matter.
Exactly. I mean, to your point, Dr. Matt, I mean, like we don't save all cancer, leukemia, kidney disease people. So let's don't put the same kind of expectation on suicide prevention. I mean, it is preventable, but it's not 100% preventable. I mean, there's our friend, Kristen Moutier from AFSP always says, suicide is a complex. There's never just one single reason. There was a variety of reasons. I mean, you can talk mood behavior, signs, warning signs, but the reality is it's a complex, multi-tiered, issue. And but we talk about it, then people know that, that's the case and we can work it together.
And also, I mean, Solomon's one of the few pro athletes I get notifications about. It's him and Chris Paul, because I went to college with him. So like, I love Chris Paul. Yes. My sophomore year, he walked, because I went to Wake Forest, a small school. There's only 1,000 kids there.
Yes.
And Chris and I were in the same public speaking class. And my sophomore year, he walked into my dorm. He was like, "Yo, dude, we're on that. We have to do that presentation together." I was like, "Yes, Chris Paul. Here you are in my dorm room, Chris Paul." My roommate was like, "What? He's right. He's right there." But when I found out that Solomon signed with Dallas, I was like, but Dak is there. That's like the most mentally healthy locker room in the history of football.
My gosh. That's funny. That is so funny. Wow.
Oh gosh.
But it's still a locker room, right? Like it's still a macho sport. It's still, all the things. And if each NFL team has a team clinician, but that doesn't mean that we know what's going on inside of anybody or everybody.
Yeah. And I mean, and it just shows me like just losing a teammate by suicide this week. I mean, it's so heavy and it's so hard, and it's human nature to be like, what else could I have done? Like, what did I miss? And the biggest thing, like sort of foundational to like the therapy part of what I do is like, the more I know, the more I can help. Right. But there are reasons, so a lot of really good reasons people don't share everything. And all you can do is try and create that environment and ask those hard questions. I mean, I've had kids I've asked dozens of times, "Are you sure you're not suicidal? Are you sure there's something going on?" Where they come out and it's like, "Well, yeah, that's something I've been dealing with." We don't get to say, "I knew it," or "I told you so." It was like, okay, now I know, now I can help, right? We've unlocked whatever the next level of that is.
Right. But getting people to start having those conversations, to not be afraid to say, like you mentioned the John Lynch piece, John Lynch said, "Solomon, you're just not right." And that gave Solomon permission to go to a therapist, because at that stage, I was still numbing my pain by drinking. And Martha knew Solomon was suicidal, but I didn't. And that's why she went to the player personnel to say, "Look, get our son some help." But if the more we can equip people to have those kind of John Lynch conversations, the more we can equip people to have the Martha conversations, say, "Look, this person needs help." And also to ask the specific question, are you thinking about taking your life? Are you thinking about dying by suicide? Those are the kind of conversations people need to know that you need to have, and you can have, and you're not going to cause them to die by suicide. You're not going to cause any pain or dramas. It helps. In fact, it's the quite opposite, exact opposite.
Yeah. One of the things they taught us in grad school was like asking people if they're suicidal does not in any measure increase their suicidality. So And when parents don't believe me, I'm like, okay, like ask your teenagers, like, have you thought about making out with somebody that doesn't give them a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Like, well, I guess that I was like, because also you were 13 or 14 once too, and probably all you were thinking about was making out with somebody.
Yes.
And they were like, well, I mean, I guess that's true. I'm like, have you ever seen an ad for alcohol? It doesn't put it in your hand.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's great analogies. Those are great.
I am the king of tortured analogies. Thank you. Jake, is it too late to rename the podcast?
Tortured analogies? I mean, we could.
Tortured analogies with Dr. Matt.
That's great. Wow.
Jake, do you want to take the next question? I know I've been talking.
Yeah, I've got two. And the first one is predominantly for Martha. And I'm sorry, Chris, ahead of time.
It's all right.
Because it's more of an education kind of like field in that. Like looking at our society and our culture, especially right now, knowing that so many people are so heavy on public education and so critical of it. And knowing that like we as teachers in any room we go in, we have kids that we're dealing with. And it's not just like, oh, I'm a math teacher, I'm going to teach you addition today, or I'm going to teach you, the quadratic equation or anything. Like it doesn't work like that because there's so much happening and it's not just come into the room, here's all the material, cool, go home, you learned it. Or how would you explain that aspect to parents, to other teachers, to admin, to children, students, like anybody about the realities of it?
First of all, I think it's whole health, right? Like you don't have mental health over here. Your mental health isn't just from, 3 to 4 when you're with your therapist or whatever. It's all works together. You are going to perform better in the classroom if your physical and your mental health is in check, and vice versa. All of those things together work, in tandem. But I also feel like there's this opportunity that we miss. Like I had parents along the way who didn't really want us to know as educators what was happening at home. But then parents who would also shoot me an email and say, hey, I need you to know that, say, we're going through a divorce or someone died in the family or whatever. And for us to all be on the same team to support that child was mind-blowing, right? Like we could all be in this team, Solomon together. We could all be supporting and not just be the educators over here, the parents over here, the, coach, the therapist, whatever. But if we all surrounded that kid has a better chance of rising up and becoming their best self.
I love that. Couldn't say it better myself, to be honest. And I know that like a lot of people are going to take that in like a really positive way. And I hope that any parents, admin, whoever out there that's like, teachers should only teach the material, like are really starting to internally change that perspective for themselves.
And, it's like what I always realized in teaching history, right? It's the stories that engage the students. So if we could get a story in, and maybe it's talking about, say, Abraham Lincoln and his mental health issues. Like these are things that have been documented for ages, and that we don't live separately from our mental health.
In fact, I'm sorry, I know it's for Martha, but I'm going to say 90 seconds worth of stuff.
I'll time you.
Because she was saying that, reminding me of Dr. Satcher's comment, there's no health without mental health. And so when she mentioned whole health as well, it reminded me of the programming like we do at UNLV, where we've got, it's called Project Rush. And we focus on physical health. And on that piece, the Raiders do some work with the middle schoolers, right?
Yeah, middle school girls and flag football.
Yes, flag football. Won't you explain that since it's your question?
Well, they do flag football, they do fitness, they do nutrition, and then the defensive line provides a mental health component. But really trying to get those things working in tandem so that they're not coming in just doing flag football. Right. Like in order to do flag football, you need to do the fitness. Yes. And you also need to have food, and these are resources that are also available, throughout the school day. So they get fed, they get fitness, they get some mental health, and understand that it's not all foreign,
Yes.
Or they're not silos.
No, they're all integrated. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's like in the sense, like the future of learning, not even just education, but learning in general is everything's kind of overlaying each other.
Yes.
That's what I don't understand. Why don't we have an education system where we help kids understand, how do you deal with your emotions? How do you deal with trauma? How do you deal with, it's not just math and science. It's also, how do you build connections? Because we all know that loneliness is part of the biggest issues our kids are dealing with. And I know we can't say SEL here in Texas without going to jail.
Yeah.
That's an important thing to really understand, is how social emotional learning impacts and works with the individual, with the group, with the community. So I just wish there was more of a concerted, focused effort to help people provide that kind of whole health education.
I mean, and that's why I work so closely with schools. There's a kiddo I worked with a couple of years ago who he's from Chester, Pennsylvania, one of the poorest communities in the United States.
Yes.
We were able to get him as a scholarship student to this very fancy school on the main line in Philadelphia, even fancier than our old school, Jake.
Ooh, okay.
This school literally has a helipad.
Okay. I know which one you're talking about.
You know what school it is.
I know which one you're talking about.
Wow.
So this kid had to walk across Chester, Pennsylvania, which is, once again, a very dangerous place, take a bus to another bus, and then walk 3/4 of a mile to get to this school. So he was getting up at 5:30 in the morning to try and get it by first bell at 8.
Wow.
And some days he missed the bus and some days he didn't get there. Now, this school didn't give academic scholarships. They gave athletic scholarships. He's a great track runner on the 110 hurdles. Now, I don't know about y'all. My track career was short in the sense of, like, I know what a track is, and that's basically it. I asked him if I could throw the discus because I'm good at Frisbee, and they were like, that's a different thing. I'm like, is it now? All right, I'll go back to theater. Thank you.
There you go.
Can't throw the discus with a hammer.
No, the hammer is...
No flick passes.
Yeah, flick. But so this kid, his season went, like, for the 110 hurdles, like first place, last place, first place, first place, last place, last place, first place, last place, last place, first place. And so we had this meeting, and all the suits are like, why isn't he winning more races? I'm like, guys, the 110 hurdles is a very hard race to win.
Yes.
How is he winning so many races?
Yes.
What that turned out is that the days he was winning races, on the days he got to school in time to have hot breakfast.
Surprise. Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So you ever seen a room of white people get real quiet real quick?
It's the best. It's the best.
I mean, that's a big part of what we do, is like, let's just, I'm telling you, not a single guy in this room could have gotten over a hurdle, let alone 100 meters of them.
Exactly.
And I was like, so what we're going to do is, we're on the short line, we're going to save this kid a hot breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure he's got cereal bars and protein bars and stuff to do, because this is a school that pulls from a very affluent area for very affluent kids.
Yep.
And they're not thinking about food scarcity. They're not thinking about having enough calories to run a race at the end of a long school day.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it didn't matter to this kid. But what they found is, when they started putting these things in the locker room, in the student center, they were going away, which meant there were a lot more kids who were hungry than they thought.
Yes. He wasn't accepted. Yep.
I love telling that story. And, now that kid is in college and he's on a track scholarship and he's crushing it, and it's just like, he's one of the other athletes I get notifications about.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow.
But, like, you can't have athletic success without physical health. You can't have physical health without mental health. You can't have mental health without the structure to support somebody fitting in and belonging somewhere.
No, you're right. No, we often talk about, whole health is like a stool. Like the round part is the whole health, then the legs are mental health, physical health, emotional health, nutritional health. And if those things aren't balanced, you're going to have a wobble. So it's
a wobbly stool. Yep.
So exactly.
I love that even more, because, like, between them, they're even connected. Like, each leg coming down has that little, like, bit that connects them all.
Yes. Excellent point, Jake. Excellent point. Yes.
Analogies. And football reference. I heard an extra point. It's up and it's good. Oh, man.
That's great.
Trying to explain to my kids how field goals and extra points are different things. It's just, I'm like, just kick, the guy's going to kick the ball and something's going to happen. Just let's not worry about it too much.
Yeah. That's funny. Living in Australia was always fun sharing with our neighbors, how football worked, because it wasn't really football, it was gridiron. They call it gridiron because football was actually soccer, and they couldn't make heads or tails about, field goal and other things. But if you figure it out, let us know. We can tell our friends from Australia.
Well, I lived in Australia as well for a while, and I used to sit in the pub, and the Aussies would be explaining cricket to me while I explained baseball to them.
Oh, yeah.
And then be explaining Aussie rules football to me, which that's like the closest thing Mad Max exists in the sports world. It's just like
yes.
It's track meets ball meets
rugby.
Basketball meets rugby.
Basketball.
Exactly. Yes.
And like I went to a game and I was like, when do I cheer? And the guy's like, just cheer when we cheer. I'm like, well, that's an easy rule. But then they're Aussie and they don't shut up for 90 minutes. I was like, ah!
That's great.
Oh my goodness. So like, you guys are getting the message out there. You partner with lots of people. What do you see is the next step for the defensive line? Like, where do you want this to be at this time next year?
Yeah. So for us, it's really taking our current, D-lines, workshop panels, and trying to find a way to have it grow so that we're more operational and efficient. Right now, it's just Martha and I doing the training. So how do we find a way to leverage, technology? How do we find a way to leverage, other lived experience? How do we find a way to make it in English and Spanish and get it across key campuses and communities? Because we just can't do it ourselves live time all the time. So asynchronous learning, right? Learning some educational things, asynchronous learning. And that was part of our Clinton Global Initiative approach is being an action commitment partner and finding a way to grow so that we can train like 3.2 million people over the next 4 to 5 years. But we just can't do that by putting us on an airplane and going to Stanford or University of Virginia or going to Clark County School District and doing the presentation. We got to find a way to package it and leverage technology, and also leverage technology to help identify the right trainers and also help our participants be able to have conversations about, creating up these mock, situations where people can learn how to have conversations, because like Crisis Text Line in 988 use that technology to help their instructors, their operators deal with people who are in crisis. How do we leverage that kind of a technology to help the people attend our trainings know how to have the right conversations too? So that's our key focus. And then also, doing keynotes across key conferences, whether it's education, sports, corporations. We've done quite a few corporate discussions as well, because mental health impacts the corporate world as well. 200 million workdays missed, $44 billion cost. So there's a lot of opportunities that way as well.
I'm sure the message is going to keep growing and mushrooming, and we'll see you guys in even more places, helping more people, saving more lives.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
And I will happily watch and be like, I know them.
We can have a part 2 here.
We should do a joint keynote together. That'd be fun.
I'll be on the next plane. Just tell me where to go.
Okay.
All right. So as Jake just says, we got to have a part 2 at some point. I mean, just talking to you guys is so affirming and so important. So we'll set that up.
Thank you.
But it means we got to start wrapping up part 1. Can't get to the sequel until you finish the first one. So
right.
Jake and I are each going to ask our wrap-up questions. Jake's going to go first. Jake, I know how excited you are. You're like the Cheshire Cat. My God.
He's ready to pounce.
Appreciate that. I love the Cheshire Cat. My question for both of you, and I guess we can start with Martha and then go to Chris, if that's okay, is what's your favorite word and why?
My favorite word is hope. And I think that it's misunderstood. I think hope is a skill, not just this random feeling. And I feel like through means like gratitude, I was able to find hope again. And that idea that hope on a daily basis can change our outlook on almost everything. So that's hope.
Love it.
That's great. I like that.
Perfect explanation too.
Yeah.
So my favorite word is yes. I like to say yes to everything because I feel like the more we can work and partner together, the more things we can get done, the more I can learn from somebody. Even if somebody is on the opposite spectrum of me, by me saying yes to connecting with them, I can learn more about them and hopefully they can learn more about me. And right now in this world, we've got so much division that we're letting people die at an unfortunate and high rate. So I like partnerships, and being a former athlete, the more partnerships we do, I think that we could become teammates in the effort of helping save lives. So my favorite word is yes, which drives Martha and our chief of staff crazy.
Wait, I want him to say yes to me.
Oh, I gotta say no somewhere.
So yes to everybody but you.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, is my wife on this podcast too? She's like, stop saying yes to everyone but me. I'm like, but I have a platform. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, marching orders for me and you, Chris, on that one. Can't take our lovely, brilliant wives for granted.
Exactly.
So your homework is take her out to dinner tonight. All right, we're putting
yes
for thousands of people to hear. All right,
absolutely.
And saying yes to where she chooses to go.
Oh,
there you go. Yes, there you go. Yeah.
Married for like 7 minutes, so he's an expert on this now.
It's been like 2 weeks, all right?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It was an amazing wedding. He did a great job. All right, now my question's a little different, but if you guys could have any superhero on speed dial, who would it be and why?
Ooh. Wow.
High pressure.
They love our questions. They love the questions.
That is high pressure. Superheroes. I'm not a big, I don't know a lot about superheroes.
Broaden your thoughts on what makes a superhero.
Damn.
What is that?
What does that say? I watch so many sports programs. Wow.
Well, Superwoman, duh. Like, I guess. I just think women are underestimated and undervalued. And sometimes I feel like we're all super women flying around and maybe don't get the recognition. But if I put on a suit, maybe I would.
I like Superwoman. Is that Wonder Woman? Is that who you're talking about?
Two different heroes. Wonder Woman is from Themyscira. Superwoman is in various iterations Clark Kent's adopted sister from Krypton, Kara. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Look, you know it all.
Wow.
You all
professional nerd, guys.
I guess this is going to be real simple and kind of trite. I apologize, but I'll say Batman only because what I understand about Batman is he tries to help those who are marginalized, those who are less fortunate, and he's not trying to make himself richer. And I know he's a billionaire, whatever, but at least he's trying to do good and try to save Gotham City. So I guess I'll say Batman.
All great answers. Love that. And for the reasons we pick Batman is really great. All right. You guys survived the questions. Good job. So as we wrap things up, I mean, this is the time where I like to sort of pass the mic to you guys. What words of wisdom would you like our listeners to take with them today?
Really, to not be afraid to talk about suicide ideation, to not be afraid to talk about mental health, to ask questions to each other, but then to listen and listen without judgment, because the conversation is going to continue if we can do that.
Yeah. And I'd add on just the power of us having conversations and connecting with each other and understanding that, nobody has the right answer, and we need to focus on improving the end in mind. And we just had lunch with our pastor, and he talked about, everyone can argue about how we got to this government shutdown, but the reality is no one will argue with the fact that people need to be fed. People need to be clothed. People need to have whole health. So let's focus on those imperatives and just being more humane forward. So That's what I would focus on.
Humanity first.
Right.
Thank you, Jake. Yes.
So thank you.
Yeah, right. We're just holding up the megaphone to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But it's so powerful to get to share this journey with you guys. And I mean, I'm honored to count you guys as friends and colleagues. I mean, you do such important and incredible work, and you've blazed trails into spaces not only on the football field, but also in corporate America that have traditionally been resistant or closed off to conversations about mental health, certainly not including suicide, right? So this is, you guys are changing the world. And as I say, at least once per pod, it's easy to say when it's true. You guys will always have friends at the Neurodiversity Collective and this podcast, but I can't wait to see where you guys take it from here.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you both.
Appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
So, okay. Well, I don't know. Sometimes it's easy to transition into the close, but today I'm just like I'm all up in my feels, but I wonder why. But for all of us here at Nerding Out on Neurodiversity, thank you for learning with us and learning from us. Thank you, as always, for trusting us with your time. It means the world to us. Thanks for our incredible guests today. Jake, you want to send us out?
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for listening, for tuning in. Martha, Chris, what an absolute pleasure it was. Just meeting you, talking with you, hearing your stories. And thank you for your vulnerability and your openness across the board. Genuinely appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I know Ella would be very proud of you. All right, now I'm going to cry. Damn. 58 minutes.
Me too.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time. Nerding Out on Neurodiversity is brought to you by Dr. Matt Zakreski and the team at the Neurodiversity Collective. To learn more about the Neurodiversity Collective or to be a guest on the podcast, please visit our website at www.theneurodiversitycollective.com/podcast. Audio and production by Jake Noonan. Show your support by subscribing, leaving a 5-star review, and telling your friends about us. Our Instagram and social media handles are at #NoonPodcast, NOON podcast. Your support is appreciated and keeps us going. All discussions presented on this podcast are strictly for informational purposes, awareness, and understanding. The advice presented is not and should not be considered to be therapeutic in nature. If you have any mental health questions, please contact your provider. All rights reserved.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.